Hello, boys and girls. This is Mrs. Wingervasio, and today we're going to be starting on our very first note of the year in our notebook. So I would like for you to open a brand new page and first start by always putting the date of your note that you take. And then next, I would like for you to put down the lesson number that we are doing, which today will be 1.1. And then I would like for you to highlight it. And then next, I would like for you to put down the title of the lesson we're doing so that way you know what the lesson is about. And then look at this setup right here. This is going to be the setup we're going to be using for throughout the rest of the year when we take notes. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and begin by doing our first vocabulary word. The first vocabulary word I have is going to be absolute value. So an absolute value is basically of an integer is the distance between the number zero, a number and zero on a number line. So I have here two integers, a -4, you see that dot, and a 4. Now to write an absolute value, all you need to do is have these bars around that number. So the absolute value of -4, you just have to have a bar. The absolute value of 4, you just have to have a bar. And these are called now absolute value. Now to solve an absolute value, what you do is you count, so you go to that number on the number line and you count how many space is it away from 0. So I'm going to go ahead and count 1, 2, 3, 4. Now since there's 4 spaces away -4 is from 0, then the absolute value of -4 is 4. Now, when we go to 4 absolute value, we'll count again 4. Absolute value of 4, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. The space in units is also 4. So when you're talking about space and distance, you can't have a negative. So therefore, an absolute value, the distance between that number to 0, will always be a positive. Notice how both of these are positive force and not a negative. Now, again, a common mistake that students always make about absolute value is they think it's opposite. Because they see a -4 here becomes a 4, they think it's the opposite. But that didn't happen here. Negative or +4 here did not become a -4 because an absolute value is not an opposite, but it is a positive of that number because it's the distance away from 0. Again, if I went too fast on this slide, go ahead and pause it and replay it again to make sure you get down anything that you need. So make sure you copy this entire page down, okay? All right, so we're going to go ahead and start with example 1. In example 1, it says to find the absolute value. In other words, we're going to solve for the absolute value of 2. So I'm going to go ahead and take 2 and make an absolute value bar for it and solve it. So the absolute value of 2, if I drew it on a number line, you don't have to do this on for homework time, a number line, but if you need to, like me, I'm going to show you, you can do a number line. So I'm going to count 2, find it, and then count how many spaces is it from 0. So it's 1, 2. So since it's 2 spaces from 0, the answer is 2. That's it. Okay? All right, let's go down to, oh, before I move on, sorry. For my examples, make sure that for all the examples that I show you that you also jot it down and practice it as well. I would like for you to try them as I go. So go ahead and jot down anything that you need to jot down and maybe make questions or comments if you have any that you can ask me tomorrow. Okay, so again, copy down example 2. You don't have to copy down the problem, but go ahead and solve it along with me. So for example 2, it says to find the absolute value of -3. So to find the absolute value of -3, I'm going to put -3 and put an absolute value bar. And then now to solve it, I'm going to say, where is -3 on my number line? -3 is going to be right here. And then I'm going to ask myself, how many units is -3 away from 0? That's 1, 2, 3. And since it's 3 units away from 0, I'll say my answer is going to be 3. Again, an absolute value is always, always going to be positive because it's the distance that number is away from 0, and that's 3 units. All right. Now, this is going to be the start of your homework. So for your homework, for every time we do your homework for the video portion, it's always going to say on your own. I do not want you to do your homework on your notebook or in your notebook. You need to do your homework on a separate sheet of paper. You take notes only in your notebook, but you do your homework on a separate sheet of paper. So right now, if you can take out a separate sheet of paper, go ahead and title it. I always want a title on all of your papers. So title it 1.1 homework and put on your own. You're going to have 9 questions on your own today in the video. So this is just the first 4. So go ahead and solve the first 4 here. Feel free to pause it so that way you can have time to solve it and then move on. So again, this is done on a separate sheet of paper. I repeat, separate sheet of paper. All right. let's go ahead and do example 3. Now that you completed homework problems 1 through 4 on your own, let's go to example 3. It says now we're going to compare. Now when we compare, we're going to have to use the following inequalities, which is the less than, the greater than, and the equal to. Okay, so we have the number 1. Since 1, we can't do anything to it, we're just going to put 1. We can't solve a 1, so we're just going to leave it as 1. It doesn't have an absolute value bar, so you can't solve it. So now the negative 4, it does have an absolute value bar, so the absolute value of a negative 4 on a number line, here's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, is going to be how many distance away from 0? So we'll count 1, 2, 3, 4. Since it's 4 distance away from 0, we're going to say the absolute value of 4, or negative 4, is positive 4. Now let's go ahead and compare it by using one of the inequalities. Which inequality is going to be used? We'll use the last one because 4 is greater than 1. So that would be the answer. So this is a comparison. All right. On the same homework paper of the on your own you did 1 through 4 on, I would like you to continue on to do 5, 6, 7, and 8 for the on your own, using the following inequalities to compare the absolute values. Okay, so on the same paper of your homework, not your notebook. Please don't do it in your notebook. Notebook is for notes. Homework will be on a separate sheet of paper. So if I go too fast and you need more time for this part, go ahead and pause it and do this portion. So pause it to do the on your own sections each time in the video because sometimes I'll go ahead. All right. Our last example today is going to be example 4. This is going to be a story problem. So for this story problem, it's talking about freezing point. So it says here the freezing point is the temperature at which a liquid becomes a solid. So we have here some of these substances. You've heard of it before: butter, airplane fuel, honey, mercury, candle wax. All of these substances could be turned from liquid to a solid or from a solid to a liquid. Now, they want to know for question A, there's 2 questions you're going to have to answer, so make sure you write this down and try to answer it with me. It says, which substance in the table has the lowest freezing point? So I'm going to go ahead and analyze all of my numbers, and I notice that the lowest number we have, that's going to be the coldest, is going to be airplane fuel. So since airplane fuel is at a negative 53, that's going to be the coldest temperature. So I'm going to say that negative 53 is going to be the lowest freezing point. So that's going to be airplane fuel. So I'll go ahead and put the airplane fuel. So that will be for question A. I'll just put airplane. Now for question B, it says, is the freezing point between mercury or butter closer to the freezing point? So I'm going to go ahead and go to butter, and I'm going to go ahead and go to, so I usually underline what they talk about, butter and mercury, and find mercury. And I want to know which one is going to be closer to 0. Now, if I were to put these numbers on a number line, let's see, I'll put it on a number line. We'll have here 0 is right here, and 35 we'll just estimate is right here, and we'll say negative 39 is maybe right here. Which number is going to be closer to 0? So if we count the units from here to here, it's going to be 39. But if we count the units from here to here, that's going to be 35. So 35 seems closer to 0 to me than 39. 39 is further. It's how many units further? 4. So I'm going to say that the 35 one, which belongs to butter, butter is going to be closest to 0. So the answer for B would be butter. Again, if it didn't make sense for you for this part or for any parts, feel free to pause it and watch it again and replay. Okay? All right, I would like for you to now continue on the same homework paper that you've been doing tonight and do problem number 9. If you need to look back to the chart to answer question number 9, go ahead and do so. So take time to pause this and work on number 9. Okay, now an exit ticket basically is a small quiz that I give at the end of every video. For today, it's just going to be an extra problem. It's not going to be a quiz, but sometimes I will make it as a quiz that you have to answer, and you'll just answer it online for me, and I'll show you that later on. But for now today, if you don't see it as a quiz pop up, then you're just going to answer it as a homework question. So on the same page as your on your own, same page as on your own, I repeat, you're going to go ahead and do this exit ticket and answer the following question for me. So again, make sure you read it carefully and answer it thoroughly. There is some explaining to do. Pause the video if you need, and so that will give you more time. All right, just a recap of what you are expected to do tonight for tomorrow. You need to, one, make sure you have your video notes completed for me. Take down the notes that we just did today for the video. Two, have questions 1 through 9 on your own completed. And three, the exit ticket alongside with the on your own. So this is on a separate sheet of paper, these two, and the video notes are in your notebook. Okay, so any questions you have from the video, make sure you jot it down and bring it back to class tomorrow, and then we will answer it in class along with the homework we'll grade. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.